Thank you so much for coming to the library this afternoon, on this chilly afternoon, so that we can all warm our spirits and our souls with the memory of Dr. King. And I am so grateful to see each and every one of you here. And I am especially grateful to my good friends at Brattleboro Solidarity who bring this program to us. This is the second year they brought it to the library. I'm so happy. And my good friend Michaela, who is here, who suggested that we move this event to the library. So I'm happy and so happy that you could all join us today. And we're looking forward to some inspiring music and words today. So I'm going to turn this over to Kelly, who is going to be the MC for the afternoon. So if you brought something to read or say, or if you're just moved by the spirit, I know I've seen several guitars in the room. I'm happy to see that. So don't be shy. Don't be shy, and guess what? We get to make a lot of noise in the library this afternoon, so let's make the most of it, right? Okay.
So welcome, and thank you so much for coming to our second MLK Day SpeakOUT at the library, and thank you so much to Star and the library staff who's helped us put this on for the second year in a row. We're Brattleboro Solidarity. We're a group of local educators seeking to change the world through education, and and so we're going to start off by showing a clip from a documentary called The Children's March. And Michaela can tell you a little bit more about the context of this event that happened in 1963.
In 1963, I can hear myself in my ears. After the bus, quite a few years after the bus boycott, they were really worried that there was a lull in the civil rights movement. And so Alabama was really hard to break with Bull Connor there. And one of the things that they decided to do was to fill the jails, but at this time in history, they could not get adults to fill the jails because they wanted to keep the jobs that they needed to feed their families. And so what happened in this particular place is that the children stood up. The youth decided that they could do it. And so what happened was they filled the streets and also ended up filling the jails. Kids as young as 4 and 5 years old were in jail for up to 2 weeks. And when they came out, they would go right back again. They would go in the streets and go right back again. And so this idea of freedom we have is not just a notion, it really has meaning to a whole lot of people. When I look at someone like my grandmother, who's 100 years old, who lived through this time and also lived through a black president, but we hope for her to see some type of true liberation and the hope that people will be free from not just the shackles of discrimination, but the economic shackles that make people poor and suffer. So we'll play this little clip, and hopefully we'll have some young people say a few words.
The children were ready. They were ready to hit the streets.
Kelly Ingram Park was the big green buffer between black Birmingham and the white downtown. 16th Street Baptist Church was on one corner, and by noon, Birmingham's finest were on the other. It was all laid out like a battlefield.
To think about it now, I get the shakes. What could have happened?
Martin Luther King spent the day at his motel, wrestling with his conscience.
A lot of people thought the kids were going to get hurt. But the reality of it was that we were born black in Alabama, and we were going to get hurt if we didn't do something.
When noon came and went without a public appearance by King, Bevel opened the floodgates. They came out in waves of 50.
The first 50 came out, he peacefully arrested them and
That does it. And the next 50 shows up, then the next 50. And he go get some more paddy wagons.
They would cram the paddy wagons full of people, and then they would jam the doors shut.
Within an hour, the police had abandoned wagons and started to bring in school buses.
Fill up a bus, pull up another bus, fill it up. We arrested those kids in wholesale numbers.
Bevel timed it so that each group of 50 seemed like the last.
And what they didn't know was as the kids were going out of the front door, more kids were coming in the back door.
50, 50, 50. So it's like, when they gonna stop?
I think when the police arrested us, they thought that we would be afraid and start to cry. They had strange looks to see that we were happy and singing and glad to be arrested.
It's after about 12 o'clock. So maybe they got 500, 600 students in jail now. I told Bull Connor, we have to take a break.
And he walked out in the middle of the streets where the police was. Don't you think we ought to take a break? You need to let your men cool out, we'll cool out. Take a lunch break.
And he said, yeah, well, we need a break because my officers have been out here and haven't had anything to eat. And beside, he says, here come the lunch truck.
The next thing I knew, they passing out Coca-Colas to him.
Bull Connor saw me eating that sandwich. He said, hey, what that nigga doing?
Soon as the rest period ended, he come back over where we were. They go back over where they were, and they start back to kicking butt.
By 3 o'clock, almost 1,000 black kids were under arrest for parading without a permit.
There were so many kids in jail, the schools couldn't teach. I remember that so well because my classroom was in jail. A whole class.
We were told to say we were 15, and that would keep us out of the big jail. Didn't work in my case.
I can remember some of them thinking that we're gonna kill them. They'd tell me, oh, I know you're gonna kill me, but I wanna call my mama first.
When the children were in jail, the people were pulling them. Dr. King, my daughter in jail. Dr. King, my son in jail. Dr. King, what are we gonna do? I mean, parents just all around him talking about their children in jail. Just as calm, just as nice.
Don't worry about your children. They are gonna be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail. For they are doing a job for all of America and for all mankind.
My father told me I could not be part of that movement. I had better not go back downtown. He didn't tell me I couldn't go back to church, which is where it all started in the first place, right?
So just before we get started with speaking, one announcement is that there is a kids event going on upstairs in the meeting room. It's an art event, and there's content, and there's picture books, and Marisa, who is standing in the back, is leading it. So if there are kids here who would like to participate in that art making event, they should feel welcome to go upstairs. So one of the reasons that we wanted to show this film is because it's so inspiring that the kids stepped up and took on segregation in Birmingham, Alabama, when the adults felt that they were unable to. And I think so often the youth are not included and kids are not included, or we see them as too young or not able to participate in these events, but I think that this just proves otherwise. So we're gonna start, and the form of this event and the form of the event last year was kind of speak as you are moved to speak. If you have prepared something, or if you are inspired to say something. And I think that I'm going to be calling on people, please be really careful not to trip over the cords and the wires as you come up to the microphone.
Are there any young people that want to start us off?
Can everybody hear me? Yes. All right, so I'm going to read The Giver, James Baldwin. If the hope of giving is to love the living, the giver risks madness in the act of giving. Some such lessons I seemed to see in the faces that surrounded me. Needy and blind, unhopeful, unlifted, what gift would gift them, the gifted to be gifted? The giver is no less adrift than those who are clamoring for the gift. If they cannot claim it, if it is not there, if their empty fingers beat the empty air. And the giver goes down on the knees in prayer, knows that all of his giving has been for naught, and that nothing was ever what he thought, and turns into his guilty bed to stare, as the starving multitude standing there, and rises from his bed to curse at heaven, and he must yet understand that to whom much is given, much will be taken, and justly so. I cannot tell how much I owe.
So maybe I'll take this opportunity to read this reading by the South American historian and poet Eduardo Galeano, and it's called The Right to Dream. Who knows how the world will be in 2025? But one thing is certain, if we are still around, all of us will be the people of the last century. However, although we cannot divine the world that will be, we can imagine the one we would like to be there. The right to dream does not figure in the 30 human rights which the United Nations proclaimed at the end of 1948. But if it were not for this, or for the waters it gives us to drink, the other rights would die of thirst. Allow me, readers, the madness of inventing the future, the world that is upside down dreams that it will land on its feet. In the streets, cars will be run over by dogs. The air will be free of all the poisons of machines, and there will be no other contamination than that which issues from human fear and human passions. The television set will stop being the most important member of the family and will be treated like an ironing board or a washing machine. The boys who don't want to do military service will not be arrested. Those who do will. People will work to live, not live to work. No illness will be called mortal, because life itself is mortal. Economists will not confuse the standard of living with the level of consumption, nor the quality of life with the quality of things. Historians will not believe that countries enjoy being invaded. Politicians will not believe that the poor enjoy eating shit. Cooks will not believe that lobsters delight in being boiled alive. Street kids won't be treated like rubbish because there won't be street kids. Rich kids won't be treated like money because there won't be rich kids. Education will not be the privilege of those who can pay for it. Police repression will not be the curse of those who cannot buy it. There will be no legitimate offspring and natural offspring because we are all natural. A black woman will be the president of Brazil, and another black woman will be the president of the United States of America. An Indian woman will govern Guatemala. Another will govern Peru. In Argentina, the crazy women of the Plaza de Mayo will be exemplars of mental health because they refuse to forget in times of amnesia. the Holy Mother Church will correct a few of the Lord's mistakes. The sixth commandment, which prohibits the pleasures of sex, will demand celebrate the body. The ninth, which mistrusts desire, will declare it sacred. The church will also dictate an 11th commandment, which God forgot. You will love nature, to which you belong. The ardent man will not be a champion, the ardent woman will not be a whore, for no one in the world will be turned off.
This is a song slightly out of season, as it's called Midsummer Jubilee, although our thaw is a little bit like midsummer in the middle of winter. But I hope it appropriate for the occasion. Midsummer's Eve, gentle breeze, see the sunset through the trees. Longest day fades to gray, my mind drifts away to a place beyond space, full of wonder, full of grace. And I believe something's waiting there for me. So I believe, midsummer jubilee. Some folks run, chase the sun, till the working day's done. With all they own and all they've sown, they still end up alone. Hope and pray for breath, for us all to find that place where I believe something's waiting there for me. Yes, I believe midsummer jubilee, and I believe something's waiting there for me. Oh, I believe midsummer jubilee. Troubled times on my mind, refuge is hard to find. I need a break from my mistakes. Midnight finds me awake in the yard, counting stars, wondering how far. And I believe something's waiting there for me. Yes, I believe midsummer jubilee, and I believe something's waiting there for me. I believe midsummer jubilee, and I believe something's waiting there for me. Yeah, I believe midsummer jubilee, and I believe, oh, I believe midsummer jubilee.
I have a few quotes from Dr. King, some of my favorite quotes. Can you all hear? Good. This is what he wrote from Birmingham Jail, 1963. when he was in jail. We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights. Pointing out that our rights come from God, not from legislatures or mankind. One day the South will know that when these disinherited children of God sat down at lunch counters, they were in reality standing up for the best in the American dream and the most sacred values of our Judeo-Christian heritage, and thusly carrying our whole nation back to those great wells of democracy which were dug deep by the Founding Fathers in the formulation of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. This is quoting Dr. King in the book written by the U.S. Senate chaplain, Barry Black. He has a book called From the Hood to the Hill. He quotes Dr. King saying, "If our activism was wrong, then the Declaration of Independence was wrong and the Constitution was wrong. But if these documents are right, then it is worth striving to make their principles even more real than they already are." And last one from Thomas, one from Jefferson is similar to Dr. King's. Dr. King said, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it." I don't know exactly where he said that one, but I agree. So did Jefferson. Jefferson said, "All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent." And Pastor Bonhoeffer, who was one of the was technically a Nazi, but he was involved in the plot to blow up Hitler. He wrote a few books, and he visited America, and he visited some black churches here in America when he was alive, before he got put into prison and then killed by Hitler. And Pastor Bonhoeffer said, "Silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act." Thank you.
My name is Daniel Seekin. This is a piece written by Daniel Berrigan. It's called "The Price of Peacemaking." We have assumed the name of peacemakers, but we have been, by and large, unwilling to pay a significant price. And because we want the peace with half a heart and half a life and will, the war, of course, continues. By its nature is total, but the waging of peace by our own cowardice is partial. So a whole will and a whole heart and a whole national life bent toward war prevail over the verities of peace. In every national war since the founding of the Republic, we have taken for granted that war shall exact the most rigorous cost, and that the cost shall be paid with cheerful hearts. We take it for granted that in wartime, families will be separated for long periods, that people will be imprisoned, wounded, driven insane, killed on foreign shores. In favor of such wars, we declare a moratorium on every normal human hope for marriage, for community, for friendship, for moral conduct towards strangers and the innocent. We are instructed that deprivation and discipline, private grief and public obedience are to be our lot, and we obey. And we bear with it, because bear we must, because war is war, and good war or bad, we are stuck with it and its cost. But what of the price of peace? I think of the good, decent, peace-loving people I have known by the thousands, and I wonder, how many of them are so afflicted with the wasting disease of normalcy that, even as they declare for the peace, their hands reach out with an instinctive spasm in the direction of their loved ones, in the direction of their comforts, their homes, their security, their incomes, their futures, their plans, that 5-year plan of studies, that 10-year plan of professional status, that 20-year plan of family growth and unity, that 50-year plan of decent life and honorable natural demise. Of course, let us have the peace, we cry, but at the same time, let us have our normalcy. Let us lose nothing. Let our lives stand intact. Let us know neither prison, nor ill repute, nor disruption of lives. And because we must encompass this and protect that, and because at all costs, our hopes must march on schedule, and because it is unheard of that in the name of peace a sword should fall, disjoining that fine and cunning web that our lives have woven, because it is unheard of that good women and men should suffer injustice, or families be sundered, or good repute be lost. Because of this, we cry peace, and there is no peace. There is no peace because there are no peacemakers. There are no makers of peace because the making of peace is at least as costly as the making of war, at least as exigent, at least as disruptive, at least as liable to bring disgrace and prison and death in its wake.
Hi, I'm Terry Carter. Can you hear me? Most of you probably know who Bree Newsom is. Does anybody not know who Bree Newsom is? She, several years ago, I believe it was South Carolina, shimmied up the flagpole and took down the Confederate flag. And I grew up in the 60s, and what struck me is I don't watch a lot of mainstream news, but based on what I saw, I did not feel she got nearly the attention she should have gotten. Growing up in the 60s, she probably would have been on the front page of Life magazine and Newsweek, and she would have been followed. I mean, that's where things are very different now. We really have to follow our own news, but I was so moved, I made up this little tune at the time, and I've sung it on several occasions. But I want to dedicate this to you young adults. You give me hope. Things are just, a lot of us feel that our work has been for naught, but you young people are amazing, particularly you young African American, and particularly you young African American women. You're amazing. I was at that meeting at the high school this week, and the way you bore yourselves and were just so forthright, and you're doing the right thing, and you're incredible. It's a very basic song, and the chorus is pretty simple, so feel free to sing along. And there's no double entendre here, I promise. But here we go. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, Bree. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long white pole. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, Bree. Your vision's bright, vibrant, and your spirit's bold. So shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, Bree. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long white pole. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, Bree. Change doesn't happen always doing as you're told. So shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, Bree. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long white pole. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, Bree. The truth of the fallen we must be told. So shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, bree. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long white pole. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, bree. Rosa Parks and Dr. King, the future they foretold. So you shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, bree. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long white pole. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, bree. That arcane symbol has to go as you shinny, shinny, shinny up that long pole, bree. Shinny, shinny, shinny up that long white pole. As you shinny, shinny, shinny up that pole, bree. Newsome, the stars and the stripes shall unfold. Thank you very much.
That was fun, thank you. I want to start with something from Luke 12:45. There's to whom much has been given, much is required. And for me, I'm a person where much has been given. I grew up in a middle-class, solid middle-class family, financially, educationally. I'm white, cisgender, heterosexual, mostly able-bodied, Christian background and so forth. So much has been given. I'm a woman, and that's certainly a target of identity, but because of all the other ways I've been privileged, the impact has not been as strong on me as for many other women who don't have those other benefits. So much is required for me and for those of us who have privileges. Much is required. One thing I think that is required of me is to be as outraged by the heinous, horrible things that are happening in our country and the planet due to our demigod and his followers, to be as outraged as those who are directly impacted, because we are all impacted by those events. The second thing I think that is required is to speak out and not be silenced. I'm reading a book, a little short book on tyranny now, it's about that big. And it talks about the historic situations that have allowed tyranny to exist. Talks a lot about what was happening as the Nazis rose to power, with people not believing what they said they were going to do could really be true, and with people being silent and afraid to speak out. So that's one of the things I think we have to really take on, is speaking out and not normalize what's happening, not just shift our stance for what is not acceptable. I think I've been encouraged by some things that we in Vermont and Brattleboro have been doing in terms of speaking out. And one is we have stopped the deportation of some farm workers from Mexico and Guatemala up north, some farm workers who were detained. And by our collective voices through Margaret Justice, we have stopped those deportations. We have also, through Margaret Justice, worked to ensure that the farm workers have adequate wages and humane living conditions by working for 2 years with Ben & Jerry's to get them to finally comply and take action and only work with the farms that are providing humane conditions. We have, just this past week in Brattleboro, reinstated the diversity coordinator position through many people speaking out. That wouldn't have happened unless many of us had written letters and come to those meetings. We have seen that the Chester County Fair with its Confederate flag, that was taken down, and are working to make sure that it doesn't go up again. Our efforts have not always paid off, of course. We had a setback with the fair and impartial policing this year, but I don't think we're giving up on that. We're going to continue so that ICE does not collaborate with the local police. We had a setback on health care for all a few years ago, but we've got the vision, we know what should happen, and we've got to continue to speak out. In these times, I think it's so important that we do continue to speak out, and I want to use one quote from King, the trumpet of conscience. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, unfortunate choice of words there maybe, but the silence of our friends. So we remember the silence of our friends, and I think we will remember also if we ourselves, I remember if I myself is silent. The times that I've not spoken out, I remember that long. You know, it's painful. And then finally, I'd like to quote with one of my favorite quotes from Gandhi, who brings hope. And that is, when I despair, I remember that truth and love have always won. For a time, there have been tyrants and murderers, and for a while they've seemed invincible. But in the end, they always fail. Remember this always.
All right. First of all, thank you, Daniel, very much for letting me use your guitar. Thanks to Brattleboro Solidarity for putting this together, and thanks to the library. My name is Amar Langsdorf. I'm a grad student and aspiring educator in town, and I'm going to sing a song by State Radio called Camilo, which is about Camilo Mejia, who is from Nicaragua, and he was a conscientious objector to the Iraq War, and he got put in prison for a year, and this is about that. Can you hear me? Hear my voice over the guitar? 20 days in a concrete fallout. Would life if I to take your own? Oh my country, won't you call out? Doorbells are ringing with boxes of bones. From another land's war-torn corners to a prison cell in my own. Punish me for not taking your orders, but don't lock me up for not leaving my home. Your words just a bloody fallacy. A house of cards you painted white. Tried to recreate Normandy, but you made up a reason to fight. And now red oil is spilling down in the street, and your eyes so big for the belly is weak. Will we not refuse this currency? Or is blood money just money to you? Or is blood money just money to you? In a concrete fallout, what life if I to take your own? Oh my country, won't you call out? Doorbells are ringing with boxes of bones. From another land's war-torn corners to a prison cell in my own. Punish me for not taking your orders, but don't lock me up for not leaving my home. Leaving my home.
life if I to take your own. Oh, my country, won't you call out? Doorbells are ringing with boxes of bones. From my Netherlands, war-torn corners, to a prison cell in my own. Punish me for not taking your orders, but don't lock me up for not leaving my home.
Hi, I'm Karen Saunders. Does this thing work? Years ago, I was at an MLK event in Northampton where Ekweme Michael Thelwell told us that we should see Martin Luther King Jr. not as the leader of the civil rights movement, but as one among many thousands of people in the struggle. Am I flunking the microphone? Dang! Oh well, okay. As a window onto the movement. In the spirit of Ekweme Thelwell's words, I'd like to share some quotes from some other important figures in the movement, along with some thoughts. I've learned a lot from Fannie Lou Hamer, who was a sharecropper in rural Mississippi, one of many women sterilized without her consent as part of the eugenics movement, and most importantly, an activist in the struggle for voting rights, a woman of great courage. In an interview with a New York Times reporter in 1964, Ms. Hammer said, "One day I know the struggle will change. There's got to be a change, not only for Mississippi, not only for the people in the United States, but people all over the world." So she saw her struggle, the struggle of her people, as connected to the struggles of people everywhere in our world. That's something too many of us still don't understand. That in the diversity of our struggles, we are connected and we must become united. Ella Baker is another figure in the movement who's taught me so much. Her tireless work as an organizer spanned 5 decades. She was a mentor to many other activists, so many other activists in the movement. In her 1969 address at Spelman College, she said, "In order for us, as poor and oppressed people, to become part of a society that's meaningful, the system under which we now exist has to be radically changed. This means that we are going to have to learn to think in radical terms." I use the term radical in its original meaning, getting down to and understanding the root cause. It means facing a system that does not lend itself to your needs and devising means by which you change that system. That is easier said than done. That is easier said than done. The civil rights movement isn't just part of a worldwide struggle for human liberation. It's also a moment in a long, hard struggle, a struggle that began long before the 1950s and 60s and continues to this day and beyond. I find myself recalling the words of Frederick Douglass about this long, hard struggle for human liberation. "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will." And the thought of his words brings me back to Ella Baker, reminding of us of this when she said, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest." It's the collective struggle of our ancestors that gives me hope when looking at the world around me. Understanding the collective struggle of our ancestors can help us find our path in the struggle today. It's a path that calls upon us to support one another in the hard work, to help each other find joy and strength in the struggle. As Assata Shakur told us, we must love each other and support each other. We must love each other and support each other. Those words have been echoing in my mind in recent months. I've found myself thinking of the ways in which I've fallen short of this duty to care for one another. Oh, there are reasons. We all have our reasons. There are always reasons. But reasons aren't excuses. So as we do our part in the struggle, we must also remember the call to love each other and support one another. For we who believe in freedom cannot rest.
I'm Tony Amari. I am a new resident of Brattleboro, and I was one of the people who spoke up at the budget meeting this past week. Right now, I would like to join you all. I would like to have you all join me to sing a song that I learned at Queer Camp. And it has a very important meaning to me, which I will explain afterwards. Water, heal my body. Water, heal my soul. When I go down, down by the river, by the water, I feel home. Water, heal my body. Water, heal my soul. When I go down, down by the river, by the water, I feel home. Water, heal my body. Water, heal my soul. When I go down, down by the river, by the water, I feel home. So I come from a very difficult background. That song means a lot to me because when I was younger, I would go days without drinking water in order to prove to my parents, my biological parents, that I was not going to be if only there was a good way to put this. That I wasn't going to be held down by what they were telling me, and that I wasn't going to listen to all the lies that they had to tell me. So I did it as an act of defiance. And I got very sick. So after that, I went back to all of my healthy ways. But, you know, as I said, I come from a very dark background. My childhood has left me very emotionally damaged. And, you know, it's taken a lot for me to get to where I am today. I have just recently come out as a transgender African American Puerto Rican. And I faced many struggles throughout my journey. People telling me that I didn't deserve to live because I was an abomination. And, you know, and I still deal with racism in my school. I'll walk down hallways and I'll hear the word nigger sneered at me. And I have thought a lot about, you know, just ending it all, because for a while I was starting to believe what I was being told, that I didn't belong here and I was an abomination and that it was wrong for me to be who I was. But it's people like Martin Luther King Jr. that give me strength, and give me hope that one day racism will not be such a big thing as it is today. That's all I have to say.
Hello everybody, my name is Esler. I am
human being on this earth. And I wrote a couple of things. I'm going to go grab them real quick. I wrote a couple of things. I think I remember them, but I just want to look at them just in case I forget. So, like I said, I'm a human on this earth, and I really like being here. It's a really cool place. I wrote this the other day when I heard that it was going to be an open mic, and I just kind of thought about it, and I was like, oh, I should just write that down. So this is what came out like 12 at night. It's not a poem. It's not a poem. It's just a thought. And the idea is that I like celebrating life of people like MLK because, you know, like every day we go with our day-to-day things that we do, right? We forget about what's going on in the world. Some of us don't, but a lot of us do. And we continue to do or struggle with things, or laundry, you name it, right? Cavities. We all have them. Well, I don't have them right now, but we will eventually. And we forget that there's a struggle happening, right? And out of nowhere, these people, these quotes come out of nowhere, right? Like these little quotes, and people like MLK come, and they're like, wow, yes, we should fight for a better world. We should do this. We should, and they bring you back to this present moment, and like and you can hear them, you see them. YouTube people that you really love their quotes, and they're present, they're right there with you, right? You feel like you can almost be in that moment, right? Even though it's on video, you can be with them, right? They're present. And I remember that these people are not like gods or deities or like legends. They're just people like you and me that chose that they were going to do something about it, and then they focus, right? They focus all the time. And that's what all of you are. You'll have that power within you to do great things. And it's nice to have those people and celebrate them, so that was my thought. It's not really what I said, but so I'm an activist. I started doing this when I was, it was 9th grade in high school. And I did this as a walkout for immigration back in 2000, I don't remember what year it was, but it was a lot of us went out. It was 2006, I believe. It's a big march. And this lady just gave me a flyer and like a thing, and she was like, ah, you tell people where to go. And right there, she changed my life. She gave me power to tell people where to go on this protest, right? She didn't know me, she didn't know who I was, but she believed that I wanted to do this, so she gave me that power. And it changed from then on. I wanted to go to protests and be aware of things. And it's always been a struggle to learn more and more and more. And it's nice. It's nice to be here with you talking about this. I wrote a couple of songs, but I'm not going to play them today. Because I'm not 100% sure if this is tune. So I'm just going to improvise some stuff. See if you like it. Oh, it's broken. Never mind. Show's over. And another thing that I like, who was there at that meeting the other day? Who was there? A lot of us. That was cool. That was cool. That was a short notice, and you showed up. So congrats to you. But what I liked about that meeting and before the last meeting, the previous one, was that a lot of people showed up and spoke out, and there was like not one person you could be like, oh, that was the leader of that group, because there was so many, right? It's like ants. It's just like everybody just got up and was like, no, and like we were heard. And I think that's what it's really important. Like we should be like ants. So this song is called Ants. Have you ever seen a whistle like this? No, it sounds right. I heard it once and I loved it, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play with that. And so as you listen to this sound, remember to be ants in this resistance. comedian. That's what I started doing. To add to the story, when I was younger, I couldn't really get a job because I was undocumented, right? So I figured out that the best way I can make money was the thing that I always did, which was being funny, because that's what I like to do. I like to be happy. So I became a clown, and it was great because I could make my own money, and it was awesome. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing comes from that moment. And that's another thing. People get too serious sometimes, and it ruins the thing. Like, people get too serious, and we know that we have to go here, right? But how we get there is super important. That right there is super important, how we get there. Because if we do it in a sad way or an angry way, nothing nice is going to happen. People are not going to be part of it. We have to make this revolution a fun revolution, a hip revolution, something that people want to be part of, right? Something powerful. So, be who you can be the best, your talent. I don't know, gentlemen, what do you like to do?
I'm a boxer.
Boxer. Start punching people. That's no, that's not the best. That's not the best. Don't punch people. Whew, I chose the wrong one. But
He's a feminist too.
A what?
He's a feminist too.
Oh, a feminist. I am too. Congrats. Well done. Well done. Actually, this song is called the Feminist Boxer. But I'll finish up with this. Write down first what you're gonna do on stage before you get on stage. Or just be in the moment and remind people that the change is within us. It's the fractal, the small things, that's how real change comes from. At the smallest level, and that starts with you, what you do with your own thoughts and your own change. That's how we change the collective, the big, by focusing on the small you, all of you. This is how we all change it, individually. So, read the words of MLK, read the words of all the great people that have come before us, and our ancestors, and let that be your steam to move us forward, because the people that are coming in front of us, that's what we're laying this for. We're laying the ground for all these people that are coming in front of us. So keep on the good work, and I love you very much, and I love Brattleboro, and keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you.
I'm inspired by the boxer. I remember Bob Dylan's tune that he sang for Reuben Hurricane Carter, who was framed by the police in New Jersey and eventually freed by the movement. But what I would say to the boxer, don't be punching people, but do your road work. Stay in shape, keep your conditioning, because the arc of justice is long. And we got to have endurance and staying power like a good boxer. So that's what my words are, inspired by the boxer. The arc of justice is long. We got to hang in there. We got to keep struggling, because there are many people before us and many people coming after us who are with us together, and so we're part of a great movement. The arc of justice is long. and we will prevail.
I appreciate the encouragement to speak up. I also am very, very grateful to the black women, particularly those in Alabama, and all you young women here. I also have a demand. We apparently have a president who is a national security risk. The African Union is attempting to bring him to make an apology. I think it's time to talk to our Congressman, Mr. Welch.
Where is he speaking out? Where is he?
I don't know where he is, and I want him to speak out.
Absolutely.
And we need an impeachment. And the impeachment, as far as I know, begins in the House. But this latest travesty is just too much. International incidents all over the globe. And apparently, our troops, which are stationed all around the globe, are in danger because of the way the shithole countries now look at the shithole U.S.
My name is Richard Evers. I don't know if Martin Luther King would approve of this song or because he was so positive about the potential for goodness in people. And this song's called Some Humans Ain't Human. But I've been singing it a lot lately, and I remember there's a wonderful biography of Martin Luther King by a Southerner named Marshall Frady, and he reads it in a beautiful Southern accent. I listened to it 3 times. And I remember when I say that this song, he might not approve of it because it's dark, that King knew plenty of darkness, and especially at the end of his life. I remember Frady recounting one incident where he was under tremendous pressure from, he had come out against the Vietnam War, and the institutional papers like the New York Times wrote editorials criticizing him, saying that he was out of line. And he was getting pressure from the FBI over his extramarital affairs. They were threatening they sent tapes to his wife. He was under enormous pressure. And I remember one incident in the book where he stormed out of a meeting of his lieutenants, the SCLC, and he was walking down the stairs, and Jesse Jackson, this is according to the book, Jesse Jackson came out after him and said, Doc, it's going to be all right. And according to Frady, King swung around and raised his middle finger and he said, no, it's not going to be all right. And he was assassinated within, I think, months of that incident. So this song is called Some Humans Ain't Human. Some humans ain't human. Oh, it contains a bad word for if there's any kids out there, but I don't see many kids. Some people ain't kind. You open up their hearts, and here's what you'll find. A few frozen pizzas, some ice cubes with hair, a broken popsicle. You don't want to go there. Some humans ain't human, though they walk like we do. They live and they breathe just to turn the old screw. They screw you when you're sleeping. They try to screw you blind. Some humans ain't human. Some people ain't kind. You might go to church, sit down in the pew. Those humans who ain't human be sitting right next to you. They talk about your family. They talk about your clothes. They don't know their ass from their own elbow. Jealousy and stupidity don't equal harmony. Jealousy and stupidity don't equal harmony. Did you ever notice, just when you're feeling really good, there's always a pigeon come shit on your hood? Or when you're feeling your freedom, like your sails just unfurled, some fat bully from Queens starts to wreck the whole world. Some humans ain't human. Some people ain't kind. They lie through their teeth with their head up their behind. You open up their hearts, and that's what you'll find. Some humans ain't human. Some people ain't kind.
Hey there. My name is Jane Diefenbach, and this is my first ever open mic, so bear with me. I just came by the library today to read a little bit, and this was going on, and I got inspired to share a story with you that maybe you already know. Does anybody here know the story of Ruby Bridges? Ruby Bridges was a 6-year-old who pretty much single-handedly had to desegregate the schools of New Orleans. She was one of 6 children who passed a test and had the parental support she needed to go into a white school as a black child. She was a 6-year-old. She was this big. She was met day after day after day by angry mobs, basically, who threatened her. You can see good film of this on YouTube. And I, just became aware of this recently because my UU choir, my old UU choir in DC, performed a musical about Ruby Bridges. And I'm not sure I can do it justice without the video and the audio, but I may try to play my computer on this microphone, but I'm going to read you the words from this song. The stages of the musical are, you know, a lot of angry white people yelling at black people that they have no place, they shouldn't be in the schools, trying to basically drive this girl, this 6-year-old, this big, I want you to have that image as I read this to you, away from the school and try to prevent desegregation from taking place. This song comes right after. I'm going to read the words and try to play it for you. We'll see if that works. This song comes right after an angry mob scene. It's her mother walking her into school. Day after day she walked her in, and somehow people convinced her that they were cheering for her, at least for the first few days. And interestingly, her teacher, so she was the only child going to school. None of the white children were going to school. This one child walked into school, led by her mother every single day. And she was met by a very loving teacher from, guess where? Vermont. And this teacher nurtured her, and there's a wonderful song that follows that too. And you can go look this up on YouTube. It's called, the musical is called Step by Step. It's set basically in the jazz tradition, and the composer is Darryl Grant. So I'm going to read you the words of this song, and then I will see if it makes sense to try to play any of the video. This song is called Hold My Hand, and it's very emotional for me. The choir had a very hard time getting through this song because, again, we're picturing a 6-year-old walking gamut past all these people. Hold my hand. Hold my hand, child, hold my hand. Someday you will understand. Straight ahead, child, never fear. God is watching, love is near. Little white shoes and starched white dress, little black feet in the wilderness. Eyes wide open, trying not to skip. Who couldn't love you? Singing voices, praying hands, march you through the angry bands. Those whose work you carry on, they're cheering for you. Hold my hand, child, hold my hand. Someday you will understand. Straight ahead, child, never fear. God is watching, love is near. For the world, child, it's not fair. Danger follows everywhere. Lift your eyes, child, you will see. God is watching, you are free. Should I try to play this? Okay. I think I should give somebody else another chance. Is that okay? Right there. Okay, I have it loaded, and there's a narrator. Okay. So anybody sitting close can see that this is the choir with the jazz band, and Darryl Green is actually conducting. Okay, here it goes. Do you have the sound open? Nope, not coming. Oh, there we go. This is the trouble with them.
Forced white public schools to admit black students. In late spring of my first year at Johnson Lockett, the city school board began testing black kindergartners. They wanted to find out which children. That summer, several people from the NAACP came to the house. They told my parents that I was one of just a few black children to pass the school board test, and that I had been chosen to attend one of the white schools, William Frantz Public School. My parents argued about what to do. My father didn't want any part of school integration. He didn't think things would ever change. My mother was convinced that no harm would come to us. She thought that the opportunity for me to get the best education possible was worth the risk, and she finally convinced my father. On Sunday, November 13th, my mother told me I would start at a new school the next day. She hinted there could be something unusual about it, but she didn't explain. There might be a lot of people outside the school, she said, but you don't need to be afraid. I'll be with you. Hold my hand, child, hold my hand. Someday you will understand. Straight ahead, child, never fear. God is watching. Love is near. Little white shoes and starched white dress, little black feet in this wilderness, eyes wide open, trying not to skip. Who could love you? Singing voices, brave hands, march you through
speakers, and then please stay because there is dinner upstairs. It's soup and bread and fruit. So in a few minutes after the last couple speakers, we can make our way upstairs to the community dinner.
So, all right. We are going to do a song by Phil Oakes, When I'm Gone, as serving as a reminder to remember to do the things that take the fear and the courage and all of that in order to do what we need to do to make the world a better place. So.
No place in this world where all belong when I'm gone. And I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone. You won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't feel the flowing of the time when I'm gone. All the pleasures of love will not be mine when I'm gone. My pen won't pour a lyric line when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be running from the rain when I'm gone. And I can't even suffer from the pain when I'm gone. Can't say who's to praise and who's to blame when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't see the golden of the sun when I'm gone. And the evenings and mornings will be one when I'm gone. Can't be singing louder than the guns when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dances of delight when I'm gone. And the sands will be shifting from my side when I'm gone. Can't add my name into the fight when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughing at the lies when I'm gone. And I can't question how or when or why when I'm gone. Can't live proud enough to die when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone. And I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone. You won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it. Guess I'll have to do it. Guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Thank you.
So I'll do one poem also. Because without the liberation of Palestine, we have a lot of work to do. This is called Running Orders by Lina Khalaf Tufaha. They call us now, before they drop the bombs. The phone rings, and someone who knows my first name calls and says in perfect Arabic, "This is David." And in my stupor of sonic booms and glass-shattering symphonies, still smashing around my head, I think, do I know any Davids in Gaza? They call us now to say, run. You have 58 seconds from the end of this message. Your house is next. They think of it as some kind of wartime courtesy. It doesn't matter that there is nowhere to run to. It means nothing that the borders are closed and your papers are worthless and mark you only for a life sentence. In this prison by the sea, and in the alleyways are narrow, there are more human lives packed one against the other, more than any place on earth. Just run. We aren't trying to kill you. It doesn't matter that you can't call us back to tell us. The people we claim to want aren't in your house. And there's no one here, except you and your children, who are cheering for Argentina, sharing the last loaf of bread for this week, counting the candles left in case the power goes out. It doesn't matter that you have your children. You live in the wrong place, and now is your chance to run. To nowhere. It doesn't matter that 58 seconds isn't long enough to find your wedding album, or your son's favorite blanket, or your daughter's almost completed college application, or your shoes, or to gather everyone in the house. And it doesn't matter what you had planned. It doesn't matter who you are. Prove you're human. Prove you stand on two legs. Run.
My name's Deb Whitkus, and I've been trying to do more in my life to seek justice. And a really great friend of mine, Sheila Linton, I've gotten to know her a lot this year, and one thing I realize, and I'm trying, is just to do more. And so I've been trying to think like outside of the box, and one thing I've been thinking about is so much of this exists because of capitalism. I've been thinking about my own white privilege and what can I do with that? And what I've decided to do is start making some real financial sacrifices. I'm less financially secure than I was last year, and I'm so happy because how can I be comfortable or secure when my friends of color struggle so much because the way the systems are set up for them to be marginally housed, poorly paid, and imprisoned. So I've been being very intentional, and I'm being very radical with my paycheck because I have to put my money where my mouth is, and I think things are getting kind of crazy. And I would encourage you all with this new year to think not only radical ideas and about radical actions, but think about your power and your privilege and how you can use that in a radical way with your paycheck. And speaking of which, are you still doing the books at the Root? Oh, okay. Alex Fisher is here, and they do the books for the Root Social Justice Center. And I just can't say enough about them. I hope next year, if we come back here, when we come back here to celebrate peace, that you are the most well-funded organization in Brattleboro. Just saying. Write those checks right here.
So anybody else? Any last thoughts? Last songs? Thank you. Thank you. Hey, oh, were there any last thoughts? Any more? Alex, do you see somebody that wants to say something? Okay. Anyway, so I just want to thank you all so much for all that you brought today, for bringing yourselves and your hearts and the hearts of your fellow human beings in your hearts and minds. And I would say, if any of us needed any more reminding or understanding of all the work that needs to be done and why we all need to be part of that work, you didn't get to hold this beautiful baby for for half an hour, so I really lucked out. But it did just reaffirm all my feelings of all the good work that we have inside of us and all the opportunities we have to do that good work. So I do invite you all to go up to the meeting room upstairs on the second floor, where we have soup and bread and cheese and fruit and lots of conversation and company. So I hope to see you all up there. And thank you again, all of you.
I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. Oh, I shall not be moved. On my way to heaven, I shall not be moved. On my way to heaven, I shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water.